Hello, this is Darlene Zimmerman, registered dietitian with the Heart Smart program at Henry Ford, and we are talking about eating smart for a healthy heart. This is our second session in this series, and we're going to talk today about making smarter food choices. So what we've done is divided foods into three different groups: hit the brakes, slow down, and gear up. Our goal is to try to move more and more of our food choices into the slow down and the gear up column and have fewer of our food choices from the hit the brakes column, because those would be foods that are going to be higher in artery clogging saturated fat or higher in sodium. So what we'll do is just go through each of these food groups and look at different foods within each group and where we can make some improvements. So with hit the brakes, we'll look at vegetables and fruits and grains and dairy products and proteins. So again, these would be foods I'd be trying to have less often in an effort to keep my heart healthy. So with the vegetables, of course, you don't need me to tell you that it would have been better to have a baked potato instead of the French fries that you see sitting there on that plate. So any vegetables that are deep fat fried or vegetables that are swimming in a cheese or a cream sauce, not the healthiest way to eat vegetables. When it comes to fruit, canned fruit in a heavy syrup would be my least nutritious choice. A better option would be canned fruit in a light syrup or canned fruit packed in its own juice. Coconut is also on this list because it is high in saturated fat. Grain choices. Ideally, our grain choices would be higher in fiber and lower in fat. And of course, the choices you see here, like pastries and donuts and high-sugared breakfast cereals, aren't my healthiest grain choices. We certainly can do better than that. Dairy foods, whole milk is here, full-fat cheese is here, whole milk yogurt is in this list as well. And again, with these choices, I'm just taking in more artery clogging saturated fat than I need to. Protein options that we see in the hit the brakes column, of course, your fattiest cuts of meat, any chicken or fish that's fried, fatty cold cuts like salami, bologna, hot dogs, all found here in our hit the brakes list. Slow down list. So now we're making an improvement with vegetables in the slow down list, canned or frozen vegetables with added salt. So the improvement we made is it's not deep fat fried and it's not swimming in a cheese or a cream sauce, but maybe I still have a little bit of salt hanging around. Fruits, dried fruit is here, canned fruit in a light syrup, so that's better than canned fruit in a heavy syrup. 100% fruit juice is on this list, as well as avocados. I want to make a few comments about dried fruit, fruit juice, and avocado. I don't want you to think that those are off-limits foods or they're bad for us. But let's take a look at first dried fruit. Comparing raisins to grapes in the slide that you see. For a quarter of a cup of raisins, I would spend 130 calories, or I could eat over a cup of grapes for the same amount of calories. From a satisfaction standpoint, I'd be much more satisfied getting to eat over a cup of grapes than I would a little handful of raisins. So the point is there's nothing wrong, there's nothing bad about raisins, but if you're looking to satisfy yourself, feel a little bit fuller, having the fruit versus the dried version of that fruit is certainly a good option. The same concept is true with fruit juice compared to fruit. Again, for the same amount of calories, 55 calories, I could have a little half cup of apple juice, or I would get to eat an entire apple. I'd feel much more satisfied eating an apple than I would be drinking a little half cup of juice. The other benefit to eating fruit over drinking fruit juice is I get fiber when I eat that apple. I don't get fiber when I drink the juice. And the last one noted in our slow down fruit slide was avocado. Again, there's nothing wrong or bad about having an avocado. It's a wonderful fruit. It's got good healthy fat in it, what we call monounsaturated fat. But again, notice the calories. For a whole avocado, I'm taking in almost 300 calories. That's a lot of calories to spend on a fruit choice. Having maybe a quarter of an avocado or a couple slices on a sandwich, if that's something that you like, is certainly a much more reasonable portion size. Slow down grain list. Here we have white bread and white rice and refined pasta. So choices where I don't have too much fiber. Again, our goal would be with grain choices is to not spend too much fat and to get more fiber. Dairy choices in our slow down list. Here's where 2% milk is and reduced fat cheese. Protein choices, skinless chicken thighs. If I was using ground meat, ground round would be a leaner option than ground chuck. Egg yolks you'll see there. You do not have to be afraid to eat egg yolks. Yes, there is cholesterol there, but we've been certainly learning that saturated fat has a greater impact on our risk for heart disease than cholesterol does. So don't hesitate having an egg yolk. If you have a high blood cholesterol level, having a 3-egg omelet probably isn't the best option for you, but you certainly do not have to avoid egg yolks. Gear up. So here we are at our healthiest food group, our healthiest section, if you will. When it comes to vegetables, any fresh vegetable, any frozen vegetable, even any canned vegetable where we haven't added any fat and we haven't added any salt. With fruits, of course, any fresh fruit, any frozen fruit. If it's canned fruit, if I could find it packed in its own juice or packed in water, that would be ideal. With grains, here I'm getting some more fiber with a whole grain bread, whole grain pita bread, whole grain pasta, brown rice, whole grain cereal. In our supermarket shopping class, we'll go through different aisles in the grocery store and help you pick healthy breads. We'll talk about what to look for on the label. So know that in upcoming sessions, you'll get much more detailed information on what to look for when you're buying healthier cereals, healthier breads. Dairy, our Gear Up dairy list, here's where fat-free or skim milk is, 0.5% milk, 1% milk, low-fat or fat-free yogurt, soy milk is here if you like soy milk, low-fat or fat-free cheese. I want to make one comment about fat-free cheese, and it's something I talk about with my patients all the time, because usually when people see fat-free cheese, they give me some strange looks. If you've ever had fat-free cheese, you may have noticed that it doesn't melt very well. It has kind of a rubbery texture, and it doesn't taste like much. So I want you to know, if you come across something, a food in the Gear Up list that we've been talking about, that isn't an acceptable choice to you, start thinking, hey, maybe there's something in the slow down list that I could use as an alternative. Reduced fat cheese was in the slow down list. That would be a much better choice than a full fat cheese. And you may find, if you try reduced fat cheese, that it actually does melt, and it does have flavor, and it does have a texture that is very close to a full fat cheese that you may be used to. Protein choices, lean protein choices. Again, in our supermarket shopping class, we'll talk about, when you're standing at the meat counter, what should I look for to help me choose a leaner cuts of meat. Of course, egg whites are there, or if you prefer egg substitute, that's certainly fine as well. One thing we didn't talk about in our slide series are fats. Healthy fats to use, not so healthy fats to use. So in the next section, we're going to tackle that. We're going to talk about saturated fats. We're going to talk about trans fats. We're going to talk about healthy fats to use, and we'll also touch on sodium. Thanks for your attention.